Hey everybody, hope everybody's having a good day. I want to take a few minutes just to introduce somebody who I'm a huge fan of in the space. I'm a huge fan of him because there's like a lot of people in crypto, there's a lot of people in this world, but Ashe is like kind of one of the original OGs, and he's kind of walked a path that I wanted to walk for a long time, kind of like the path that I'd like to walk. Ashe, you're a super inspiring dude, man. You're really down to earth, and the most important thing for me is that I know that you are a good human being. So that's why I'm honored to have you here today and just be able to talk and chat and just kind of shoot the shit.
Hey, Matt. Thanks, man. It's a pleasure to be back on the show.
Pleasure to have you here, man. So for anybody like who doesn't really kind of know your background, who might not have seen kind of, you know, like what you've done before, do you want to just kind of talk about like, hey, this is where I came from. This is how I started.
Yeah, sure, man. Ashe Oro, grew up in North Carolina. Grew up in the South, went to public school, and, went to public university, graduated with a couple engineering degrees that I never used. And I worked in the desk job for 7 years at a small software company around in North Carolina. And I was always one skeptical of authority. I think it comes from my parents getting divorced whenever I was at a really ripe age of like 10 years old, 11 years old. And so I never thought that like adults had their shit together, even as a kid. And so, I didn't have a lot of respect for authority. I didn't have a lot of respect for my teachers. I slept through class and thought college was a joke whenever I was in it, but figured I might as well go through it because that's what I'm told by all these old people, all these adults, that this is how I was going to get my freedom, graduate with that engineering degree, get a job that I hopefully work at for the rest of my life, build that house with a Porsche and that BMW, and I was going to be happy. And times have changed. Times have changed.
Thank God.
Yeah, right. So I went to college in year 2000, and that was right when the internet was starting to become anything. And whenever I graduated and started working, I was obsessed with podcasts and YouTube videos. And, I would work my job in any free moment I had. I was reading Peter Schiff or Tom Woods or Lou Rockwell or Ron Paul, Ludwig von Mises, Murray Rothbard, anybody that I could get my hands on that I felt like was an adult who wasn't trying to pull wool over my eyes. And so I became obsessed with learning, just on my own learning, following, being curious about my own passion, rather than learning the dumb shit that we're always told we need to learn in school. It's like, I don't give a crap about Edgar Allan Poe. I look, he's probably a cool guy. I hear he likes birds. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know, and I couldn't care less, but I was interested in economics, and so I followed that path after college.
That's awesome, man, because it's like I can completely relate to what you're saying. I was totally the same way I was really good up until about like grade probably 10, and then I just started questioning everything, and I was like, what am I learning? How is this quadratic equation going to relate to my life? Like, I need to know how to pay the bills. I need to know like how to get ahead, and right now I'm focused on like trigonometry, and I didn't see it applying either. So I can definitely,
it's like, last night, washed my face, brushed my teeth, and thought, another day went by that I didn't need calculus.
It was great, wasn't it?
Didn't learn how to build a business. Didn't learn anything about cash flow. Didn't learn about making payroll. Didn't learn about how you get stolen from via taxes. So, just a bunch of wasted time. But the great thing is we got the internet now. So there's never been more opportunity for those curious people who are looking to build freedom and create value in the marketplace. There's more tools than ever, and they're cheaper than ever. They're more plentiful than ever. So this is a beautiful time to be an entrepreneur.
And that's really why I wanted to bring you on, because I know, we've talked before, and I already know your mentality. I've followed you for a long time. And that's like the beautiful thing. I probably won't get too much into it, but I actually I was subject to a hack where somebody got into some of my accounts the other day. And this isn't like a poor me story. It's actually become pretty humorous. I'm going to do a video on it at some point. But there's just so many opportunities in this space. Because one of the questions that they asked me was like, and Ashe, I'm not going to sit here in front with you. I don't have like $5 million in Bitcoin. Do you know what I mean? But I came from like making really, really bad movies. Not even good movies, and they're still not even great. But I love doing them, and somehow I'm managing to get paid for them, which is great. But I came from like just producing content, man. And then just from producing content, there was a lot of opportunities that opened up for me that still to this day I'm grateful and I'm even shocked about in a lot of senses. I've got Senior Burrito, my French bulldog, trying to get out, so he might be a bit of a but there's so many ways. I actually said to them, I was like, why don't you just try getting a job? Like, just stop stealing shit from people, and you'd be surprised at the opportunity. Because they asked me, like, how do you have so much Trybe? What did you do? You're rich. And I'm like, no, man. I just this space is so rife with opportunity that I just saw something. I was in the right place.
And for sure. And you put yourself in to even be able to notice the right place at the right time. It's like people like to use that phrase, the right place at the right time. Well, I mean, that I don't like it because, and no offense, but it discredits all the work and all the foresight and all the perspective and all the curiosity that you had to have to put yourself, not only to put yourself in the right place at the right time, but identify being in the right place at the right time, which is a whole other thing.
It really is. And then you got to put in the work.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, then you got to execute it.
Yeah, it's great to talk.
And you got to execute. Yeah. It's why I built Liberty Entrepreneurs Podcast back in late 2015. Yeah. Because I was tired of all these libertarians bitching and moaning about the state. And it's like, we know there's a shark in the water. You don't have to keep telling us, right? We're just going to build this lifestyle in this world that we want. And the people who can see it and the people who can build it are going to come along. I mean, we don't have to drag people along. That's the best thing. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. I don't try to convince anyone of anything. Honestly, I don't care if you believe me. I don't care if anyone listens to me. All right. I believe me and I listen to me and I know what I stand for and I know why and I know what I'm building and I know the type of world I want to live in. If that's not your cup of tea, dude, that's cool. I don't care. Right. But people, when you speak passionately about something and you mean it, you're just not some bullshit salesperson. When you're speaking passionately about something, people are going to hear that, and the right people are going to really hear that. And they're going to be like, this dude knows what's going on. He's got a consistent application of freedom and he's building towards things. And I was just told yesterday, talking to somebody who I'm building a new business right now. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it, but I was just talking to someone yesterday about possibly joining my team. And he said that he would love to because he sees the consistency of why I build the things I build. It's always about helping people become financially free and having to build themselves a flexible and independent lifestyle. And people know that. People see that.
Yeah, I actually want to, first of all, I want to peel back a little bit. For anybody who doesn't know, Ashe is also the founder, of course, of Freedom Proxy. I want you to just kind of, and of course, Liberty Entrepreneurs Podcast and EOS Radio. Can you just give us a little bit of a breakdown? I'll make sure that in the comments too below that we kind of get some information in there as well. Maybe you could, if you want to post those, just for anybody who wants to go into your stuff. Because one thing that I really like about you is you're not just bullshitting. Like, you are passionate, you're intelligent, you know the space. And again, the thing that always draws me to you is just you're very charismatic, and I know that you're a good dude. And
thanks, man.
No, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need my approval. But
no, I know I'm a good dude. Like, I'm all about building that freedom, and I'm about growing my network of the right people. So, engineering background, but I quickly moved. I loved economics. Just to give a bit more background on me. I mean, it's not the Ashe show, but whatever. There's a guy named Peter Schiff, and I was convinced that gold and silver were our way to free ourselves from the burdens of government inflationary fiat currency. And so I quit an engineering career to go join a startup bank, Euro Pacific Bank, on commission only, right? I'd never worked a sales position before, and I never had a commission only position before, but I was like, whatever, the world needs this, and I have an opportunity to help build it. So we built a bank that was 100% transactional. We didn't loan any of our clients money because the big banks during the crash of 07, 08, made risky investments with their clients' money, and they had to get bailed out. Taxpayers had to bail them out. It's all this bullshit. And so I was going to create a bank that not only didn't loan your money, but it offered gold and silver bank accounts with a debit card, so you could completely opt out of the fiat system if you wanted to. And so hold your savings in gold and silver and spend it with a MasterCard, right? It was a step towards monetary freedom. And then, of course, cryptocurrencies, when I really started studying them and getting involved every day, it blew my mind. And I've been in it every day since then. But
Yeah.
so the things that I've built and the reasons, I think the reasons are just important than what I built. So I helped build Euro Pacific Bank as their first commission only guy, and I left as their head of business development in 2017, and I built that for freedom. Yeah. Even though Americans weren't allowed to have bank accounts, and that's it. I built it for other people's freedom, but then I got so tired of libertarians just ranting and pounding the table about the ills of government that I built Liberty Entrepreneurs Podcast as a platform to try to expand not only my reach, but the reach of the perspective of building freedom and interviewing what I call liberty entrepreneurs or liberty-minded entrepreneurs around the world. And just like, what did you build? Why did you build it? What pain do you solve? How do you make your revenue? What did you learn? How's it creating freedom in your own life? I wanted those types of conversations to be out, and now they're immortalized on the internet, I hope. And while doing that, it became so much work that I had to hire a virtual assistant. And I went through a virtual assistant service, and I just didn't think they did a great job. And I couldn't help but think I could do a better job. But I was like, oh, okay, you can't go around trying to do a better job of any business owner you see out there. I don't want to open up a wing and beer, bar or anything. But I started talking about my virtual assistant on my podcast, and people started writing into me like, hey, help me find one. Help me find one. Yeah. And so I finally gave in and started building Liberty Virtual Assistants, because I knew that I would need, as I plow through my life and build countless businesses, there's tons of stuff that gets spent up that you need to delegate away. And I knew that I would need this service, for the rest of my life. And so I was the first client. And, anytime you build something that you want to use, not only does it give you that drive to finish the product because you want to use it, but you also have you as your first client to give you feedback on what's working and what's not working. I couldn't imagine building something that I didn't want to use as soon as it's built. So that's how Liberty Virtual Assistants started. And, we've created a lot of jobs in the Philippines now. And people always wonder, oh, what can you do for third world countries? We need to go and volunteer. We need to donate. But screw that. Go build a profitable business and hire these people and make it sustainable. I don't think I'm doing any nonprofit work or donation type work over there. Hell no. I've created, 50, 60 jobs right now in the Philippines. Everybody gets to work from home. They made more money than in the call centers that they could ever possibly think about making. And I'm profitable, so it's sustainable. That's how you build freedom right there. You build these small digital lifestyle businesses where you can sustain yourself on your profits and then grow that thing. And I judge people by the questions they ask and the number of jobs they've created. And luckily, I've done both.
It's a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
I feel like I'm up here preaching, and I don't mean to, but it's like
that's what I want.
It's like so many people. I can remember being in high school, man, and in college, and sitting back and thinking, oh, if I just thought of that $1 million idea, one day it's going to come to me. That idea, that one. I got news for you. There is no idea. That idea is a culmination of 24 other ideas that didn't work out. And you're going to keep thinking that you need that one idea until you get off your butt and you start doing every other thing that may not be that idea. Then you're going to get to your idea. And that's going to be what makes you money. And that's what helps you employ people and better other people's lives through voluntary action in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think sometimes some of the barriers for a lot of people, and I'm kind of curious to get your commentary on this, it just seems like this. It seems like you got to just build this mountain, and it's intimidating. And it's like, how am I, me, whoever you might be, going to be able to take the appropriate steps to be able to get from A to B? I think a lot of people don't realize that it starts with a single step. I know that's so cliche, but it's absolutely accurate. You know what I mean?
It's just find the things that you're willing to do for free. Just find the things that you're willing to do for free. And find something that's just slightly inconveniencing you in the marketplace. and see if you have the passion and the perspective to build it. It doesn't matter if you know how to build it. Don't even worry about if you know how. Don't even worry if you don't know the first step. I mean, the first step is usually just Google. But if you see something in your life that's an inconvenience and you're curious and you don't mind hard work and you don't mind working for free, maybe in a side hustle when you get off from your day job, then that's how you find the path. The path just doesn't open in front of you like a gate, I never in 1,000 years thought I would have a virtual assistant business. It just doesn't make sense. I was an engineer. I was an economist. A virtual assistant business? How much sense does that make? But there was a need, and I thought I could do it, and I screwed up plenty of times, and there you go.
Yeah, it's for me. My whole journey has been kind of unique. Like I've done a lot of different jobs, man. Believe it or not, I've been a commercial diver, did underwater construction. I worked like oil field, both in I swung a hammer in minus 50 Celsius, which is cold. Trust me, man. And 300 feet over I did a lot of different things, and it's every little thing that you do. And I failed at a lot of things too. Like I started a lot of different business before I ever decided to pack my stuff and move to Costa Rica. That's something I want to talk to you a little bit about here in a few minutes. Is just kind of like some of the things that have opened up. But every single job that I've had, every single step, every single failure, I've learned something that's made me better. It's giving me heart, man. You know what I mean? Like I'm hard to know.
No doubt.
I think that's. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love the saying that your excuses are your own. That's an empowering saying that I keep with me at all times. I still make excuses. I make excuses about something every single day, but now I own those. I know they're excuses. I can be curious about why I'm making excuses about something. Maybe I don't do yoga one day, or maybe I don't work on my business one day or something like that. Well, I just listen to them. I think that, the thing about building a business is the acknowledgement that you just don't know anything. I fancy myself as being a deep thinker and a philosopher, and I have for a long time now, but there's infinite things that I don't know. And I mean, how good of a guy is Google? I mean, Google's such a good friend, right? If you're curious, there's everything out there, but your excuses are your own.
What do you think? What do you think what are some of the driving forces that separates somebody who's destined to be an entrepreneur versus somebody who might not be? Like, what is it? Because I think that's what a lot of people want to know. Like, what are some of the qualities that you've noticed in other people who are highly successful in the entrepreneurial space?
Man, it's two things. The one is just unsatisfiable curiosity. Just unsatisfiable. Literally can't not ask somebody something and learn about it. And, I've noticed that these people, even though I'm passionate and I'm outspoken and sure, I've got my own strong opinions, but I'm constantly asking questions. And I haven't always been that way. And I know that as children, either through our parents or through our pastors or our teachers or professors, we get the curiosity beaten out of us, right?
Yeah, we do.
Put your hand down. Don't ask so many questions. But Pastor, how in the hell did Noah get 2 of every animal on this ark? And I don't think he'd ever built an ark before. Shut your mouth, right? or your parents. You ask them, children should be seen and not heard, and all this bullshit. But the number one way to become a successful entrepreneur is create a relationship with your own curiosity and dig down there and just see where it's at. Every child's curious. Look at it. Every child you've ever hung out with is asking questions and getting into trouble by looking up stuff or going out and playing in the woods and bringing back a dead squirrel or something, but it's like, find that childlike curiosity where you can't stand not learning. And I noticed I've started reading Tim Ferriss's book, Tool of Titans.
Love him.
And he's got a great writer. He's a great writer as well. One of the opening quotes was, judge a person by the questions they ask, not by the answers they give. And it was the first highlight in the book for me, because especially online, everybody thinks they know about something.
Yeah.
every, they've studied something for 30 seconds and they're going to bloviate about it and let you know what they think. And, so being curious. The other thing is persistence, and I'll put a little asterisk there, to a point. Persistence to a point. Well, what in the hell does that mean? Well, it means if you have a vision and you're working towards something, in the face of all the haters or in the face of the obstacles, or finding that persistence that comes from your own curiosity and your own passion and your just drive to add value. That persistence is going to help you push through some of the difficult times. And look, we all go through depression as an entrepreneur. We all go through the fraud. Well, I'm a fraud. I'm not in a position to convince people of anything, or why should they use my thing? If you've ever built anything, you are going to have that fraud syndrome. But having the persistence and the confidence in yourself to push through that. But at a certain point, if something's not working, you must have the humility to stop doing it and not persisting on through, because at some point if the market says you're wrong, then all you've got is your time and your money and your focus. You need to know when to pull the plug, but be persistent up until that point. And that's the tricky part. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who just know that their idea is so good, but nobody wants it. Nobody's investing in it anymore, but they think it's so great. And that's cool, but at some point reality kicks in and you got to pull the plug and look for other opportunities.
What do you think are maybe one or two habits that you've kind of brought into your own personal life? Because it's funny, I can really relate to you on a lot of different levels. The getting knocked down, the depression, the self-doubt, the questioning. What are kind of like one or two habits that maybe you've used or you've seen other people use to just kind of recenter yourself when you're just having, your day is going to shit?
Yeah. So I thought I was weird for doing this, but I just read it the other day. I found a lot of success in listening to the same music while I work, because it gives me a sense of consistency, and it allows me to be in a situation that I've been in before, with the music, with that vibe. And then it allows me to bring myself back in and start working again. So I personally listen to chill hop these days. I have about 6 or 7 different 2-hour long playlists that I listen to. And every time I get to work, I like to turn it on and just, get in my zone. Another thing is I like whenever I'm working with people in person, and I don't do it very often because I'm a digital entrepreneur, but I found my best brainstorming sessions either with just myself or with someone else. It's just going for a walk. Just going for a walk and stepping away. And I know that sounds, so simple, but as I look back at my life, I've actually always gone for walks whenever I feel stressed out. And it's just recently that, again, I read something on Twitter. It was listen to the same music and hold your business meetings on walks. And I was like, holy shit, I do that. So yeah, those are two things that ground me. I also like to light candles because I feel like it gives some energy and some life to the room. Maybe I'm weird, I don't know, but just trying to create that consistency.
Okay, here's my next question for you then. On the opposite end of that spectrum, if you're grinding and you got some new product, this is something that I really struggle with myself, so maybe this is almost like a little bit of a selfish question that I want to hear a response on.
Sure.
I have a real problem letting go and taking some time off. How many hours does somebody who's really working on something they're passionate about, how many hours a day? You're, of course, you've done this for a while. You're well ahead. Yeah. How many hours a day do you work now? How many hours a day did you work, and how do you find balance in your life?
So I've just started a new project recently, so I'm working more than I used to. And I started, EOS Radio and Freedom Proxy and some of this stuff. I have Liberty Virtual Assistant, so I'm kind of spread out. But I would say, so whenever I was at the bank, Euro Pacific Bank, and I was managing a team of 12 people around the world, all work from home, and they were all working for me for commission only. So I didn't have to pay them anything. I considered a 12-hour work day a full day. And so I'd ask them on our Monday morning meetings, how many full days, now go around to each one, how many full days did you put in last week? 12 hours is a full day. It's not anything crazy like 14 hours or 15 or 16 hours. That gets, that can get a little bit out of control, but I've definitely done it multiple times. But I was able to find, now granted, I was living on an island in the Caribbean where I didn't have any friends. And so I just had a roommate. And so I didn't really have that much to do. Being the only white guy in the entire country, when you walk downtown, you get a lot of attention. I'm talking about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So, I didn't like all the eyes, so I stayed in my house most of the time. But I was able to find a good stride, both sleep, food, energetically, free time, working 12 hours a day. Now, I don't know what work is really anymore, because I just build the things that I want to work on. So sometimes I can convince myself that playing on Twitter's work, right? But I would say actual work right now, 4 hours a day or something, probably.
That's not bad. I have that. I have the problem. We're still, I'm building the dream, and I think I'm quite a few years behind you in the whole process and just kind of, building something that's established. But I often find myself like working incessantly. I find it really hard to, and I think that you're right too. I think that there's a lot of things that we do which might not really be work, but in our heads we wire it as work, and maybe we get kind of diverted. But I definitely think that nothing comes easy. But I think that there's something to be said. Burrito, come here. Wait till you see this guy. He's actually hilarious, man. I think that nothing in life ever necessarily, like, it doesn't come easy, but I think that you also have to hit that balance. I haven't quite learned how to do it. I find myself working, 12 to 18-hour days. I was really, really bad last year. I wasn't sleeping enough. I was just grinding. But when you love what you do, it also makes it a lot easier to be able to put in that grind, right?
No doubt, especially when you're building something for yourself. You're like, oh my God, all right, I've got 2 more hours. Let me just like figure this one more thing out, and I can automate this one more thing. Or let me connect my, my online subscription form to my CRM system and link it through MailChimp. Let me just do that real quick. There's always something to do. I think you get to the point, I'm a lazy entrepreneur. I don't like to work, right? I'm an engineer in my heart. I like to figure out how stuff works. I like to dissect it into the system and the pieces parts. And I like to start finding people who have both the passion and the skill set to delegate some of that stuff away. Because nobody wants to work by themselves. And there's just something very rewarding about creating jobs. And so my go-to is everything that I do, I want to delegate away, and except stuff that, needs my voice, of course.
Can you? I know this is really weird. We're in the middle of like a live interview, but I've got my dog. He's trapped on a damn chair, and the thing is, let me just grab him here. he's a dog, but he's not always the smartest.
That's all right. You can keep trying.
Oh yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. This is one of my dogs, anyway. Old Senor. Senor Burrito, the Frenchie. Anyway,
what up, Burrito?
It's the man.
¿Qué tal, Senor?
Senor Burrito. Yeah, I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about for anybody who doesn't think that they have anything to contribute, because I think there's a lot of people out there, like, they hit the crypto space and they look around and they're like, man, I'm not this or I'm not that, and we kind of convince ourselves of these of these lies that we have in our head that we're not capable of contributing. What would you think that somebody who was new to the space but ultimately kind of wanted to make a difference, where would they start? Where would it all kind of begin for someone?
I think you find a community that has interests aligned, and you find people who are passionate about and holding the conversation that you find interesting, you want to hear about, you want to engage in, because that's, at least for me, that's, I went to the freedom movement of like Ron Paul, 2007, 2008. And that was my entry point of having a network that wasn't by coincidence, meaning I didn't just grow up around them as a kid, or I didn't just happen to go to school with them or go to university with them or work with them. So finding a community of people that you feel no obligation to spend your time with at all, but you find the community so interesting, at least a couple people in it, that you keep coming back and learning stuff. And then from there, you just get curious and you're like, oh, what are you doing? Well, what are you doing? Well, what are your skills? All right, well, I can do this. Well, no shit, I can do this. All right, well, I've been thinking about something. Maybe, you know, you free this weekend, let's spend 10 hours and try to crush something out and just try to build something. I think we have similar skill sets, or similar but different enough skill sets. And it's just, man, I can understand people's like frustration or their fear or their thoughts of like, oh, I got to figure it all out. It's like, you know, the only reason people think they have to figure it all out is because of the way that public school was structured. You have to learn everything and you take a stupid test on it and then you forget it, right? That's not how people learn. People learn by following the rabbit hole of their own curiosity. They learn one web page at a time. You know, they learn by clicking links within links within links. That's how people learn. They learn in the moment. They learn because they need to. They learn out of necessity and utility. They don't learn from a textbook because they're commanded to from high. And so you've got to get past your fear of your own curiosity. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, but you got to get past your fear of your own curiosity and your fear of failure. And those are two things that we are told that are bad as children in the public school system. If you fail, if you get an F, I don't know if I ever got an F because I was too afraid. You know, I was too afraid to get an F. I get beat. And I was too afraid to ask people questions because there's a bunch of shit going on that I didn't understand, and I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Right? So you're conditioned. You got to break out of that.
You do, and I think that's one of the biggest failings of the school system. Like, I was fortunate enough. Like, I went to school. I actually ended up dropping out my last year. I went back. I did my GED. I got back in university. Did some commerce courses and whatever else. But I think that also people and young children and whatever else think that if you don't do well in school, like, you're screwed. And I just think that we're setting a lot of people up for failure because there's so many different types of intelligence. And there's so many different skill sets that school doesn't really, it just doesn't really teach you. I mean, like, you want to look at guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, was a terrible student and has quickly become one of the most highly sought after marketing entrepreneurs out there.
So let's talk about him for a second. Let's talk about him because I don't like that guy so much.
Let's do this.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't like the idea of Gary Vee. I don't like the approach of Gary Vee. I call it entrepreneur porn, right? Yeah. He's this, you got to go 18 hours every day. You got to hustle every day. And if you're not doing it, you're not going to be successful. Get off your, you know, it's like, oh, dude, like, what's up with the vibe? Like, come on. Like, all right, we get it. You know, he's just selling this nonstop 110%. You always have to be hustling. If you ever take your foot off the accelerator, you're a fucking loser. So you're a freaking loser. We're going to have the VA edit some of this, by the way. But, you know, you're a loser. And I don't, even though there's aspects of that even well before I knew who Gary Vee was, I incorporated it in my own life. Working hard, getting up early, going to bed early, right? Eating food, getting my body outside. But it's like, you don't have to go hard all the time. That's just his shtick. You don't have to do that. So I think we're starting to see people understand that, you know, entrepreneur porn isn't any more healthy than regular porn. So put that on a blog.
Interesting insight, and probably one that even I am due to hear, my friend. We've kind of talked a little bit about, you know, some of the things that you've done. Like, you didn't do the typical, you know, slave, go to some job that you hated. You moved across the world. You started working for this revolutionary new bank. And we have something in common, and I'm far behind you in that sense. But you broke all the molds. You did everything you weren't supposed to do. And now you have the joys of kind of living around the world, traveling around the world. Like, why? How has that been? How has that affected your business? And can anybody do something like that?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. This is one that I had to learn. The best weeks and months that I had business building was whenever I was stationary. And remember, it's all about that consistency. your food, your environment, your internet connection, your coffee shops. If you are building something for the first time, or even in my case, for like the third time, you can't be doing the digital nomad thing. I mean, you can. I'm not here to tell you anything, right? I'm not here to tell you what you should do.
For sure.
I'm just saying, from my experience of being a digital nomad since 2012, right when digital nomadism was really starting to take off, digital nomad, it was exponentially harder for me to grow my business and to focus, because when you're out floating around the world, most people aren't building businesses. Most people are trying to find themselves or something. And I get it. Look, good. There's a lot of experience out there, a lot of alternative perspectives out there for you to get. But when you're worried about where's the grocery store, who do I need to contact because my power went out? Why is my internet so damn slow? Or like, all these people are hitting me up to go to this concert down in the square or something, or there's everything's new. Oh, look at that place. That was awesome. I think I'll stop by there. You can negate a lot of those variables so that you can concentrate and you can focus, because traveling takes focusing on traveling. Yeah. Building takes focus on building. And so I just want all the entrepreneurs out there, the people who want to become entrepreneurs, to hear me, that 2 pieces of advice there. Don't quit your job to build your side hustle. Yeah. Build your side hustle on the side until you have enough clients where the business model is proven, you have money coming in. All right. Keep your job. And the other thing is, stay stationary until you at least have your standard operating procedures written out. You have recordings of your workflows, as I call the playbook, your business playbook. Make sure you have some of this stuff. So if you need to go update your website, then you don't have to relearn it. You can depend on and delegate that thinking to the standard operating procedure that you previously wrote, and then boom, you're right back on task. And then, once you have all those standard operating procedures written, you can start hiring a virtual assistant, for instance.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing, man. It's actually kind of along the lines of what I did. Of course, like, I moved to Costa Rica. I'm not going to like talk about myself too much, because I just mostly want to get your insights today. But a really close friend of mine died. I was making great money working in occupational health and safety. I'd always been into fitness and the marketing and stuff on the side, and then numerous side hustles. Always had like multiple businesses. Nothing huge, but my best friend died, and we just packed everything up. We moved across the world. But the beautiful thing was, exactly as you were saying, on the side, while I was working 16 hours a day in oil field, I was building this. It was an online training business, which my fiance wife kind of maintains today. But we built that up so that when it was time to pull the plug, we pulled the plug, and we did it a lot quicker than we could. But we moved over to Costa Rica, and then I guess like I am a digital nomad, but I'm really bad at it, because we have just come to this one little kind of city, and we've been here for like a year and a half. So I'm not very nomadic. I'm more like a digital get up and sit somewhere else kind of type person. But you do need that routine. Like I am, you get comfortable, and you do need that routine. But I also think that I think it's important that when you're young, that you just need to realize that you don't need to play by the traditional rules. Like everything that you learn in school is great for some people who need that kind of stability, but I don't know.
It's mainly great for the people running the schools. It's mainly great for the people running the governments who run the schools. If you think outside of that box, then you're going to see opportunity where other people don't. And if you've been conditioned, like almost all of us have, to think that the old legacy economy is go get a job and you're gonna get taken care of and all this, everybody knows that's nonsense now. And so we're coming into an era, a new cultural era, where literally everything is being questioned. And it's wonderful, because there's a lot of dumb power structures out there, centralized power structures like our traditional governments, who haven't had competition in a long time. You know, now the government is just a business who is in the business of trying to create some sort of social consensus, right? They just happen to do it through force and manipulation and propaganda, right? Taxation. But they're just trying to, they exist because people have a desire to reach consensus within communities. Here we elect our representatives. Okay, now they represent our consensus. And then they all meet consensus within Congress, for instance, and they pass it up to the president to sign. And the president's like, yep, the entire country has met consensus. We want to build a wall, right? Or whatever the stupid thing is. But now the beautiful thing is that we have our own consensus mechanisms through blockchain and multiple versions of them. And so when the most fundamental aspect of society, which is unfortunately the government, whenever its consensus model is being put into question, and there are other consensus models for society to rally around and organize with, then every old rule is broken. Every old model is broken. We're in a new era of free market consensus now, which is awesome.
I would imagine kind of having the experience that you have and being involved with things that you have, including, you know, everything from Steam to just all these various businesses. You probably get a lot of people who are coming to you and they hit you up for kind of like advice or startup advice, or maybe they're looking for resources, or maybe they want you to fund their project or whatever else. What do you think the one mistake that people might make, the number one prevalent mistake, whether they're trying to build a cryptocurrency project or whatever it might be, what's kind of the one thing that you see a lot of people doing?
Yeah, for sure. It's thinking that anybody should give a damn about what you're building.
Yeah.
Straight up. Nobody cares as much as you do. And there are no shoulds in business building. If nobody cares and nobody's curious about what you're building, you got to put that tail between your legs and go back to the drawing board. Nobody has any obligation to care about what you build or give you advice or be there for you. You know, you need to take that on board as feedback, because you may think that your thing is the best in the world, and it is your responsibility to build and show that value rather than just being trying to talk about it all the time. And look, I do plenty of talking. I get it, but I've also done plenty of building. And I've done, right? So that's the difference here, is nobody owes you anything as an entrepreneur. You know, we're the opposite of socialist. We don't believe that anybody owes us anything for any reason. A liberty entrepreneur goes out and builds his or her freedom. And we don't ask for permission, and we're not looking for excuses. And if you feel me, then let's build it. If you don't feel me, keep waiting in the wing. I'm doing my thing. That's a little Jay-Z line for somebody out there.
Love it. That's true. Nobody's coming to save you.
Nobody is coming. Nobody's coming to save you. Build it for you, right? You know, I think the idea of selfishness, now definitions are always important. Selfishness to me is doing something in which I benefit, right? Doing something in which I value. Like Ayn Rand says, there's a virtue in selfishness. The only reason that I was able to basically retire at 35 years old, which I made a promise to myself at 29 whenever I quit my job and moved to the bank, that I'd retire at 35 years old. And now, you know, what's retirement? I don't know, because here I've built, you know, a couple new things, but I don't sell my time to anyone, right? So I'm retired. But selfishness as a virtue, if I didn't want to be free so badly, then I wouldn't have had the passion to help other people become free and help create value for other people. The only reason that I've been able to amass influence or build business or have clients that speak so highly about me, or people who refer me business, is because I'm constantly looking to create value, but most importantly, create value for me. It just happens that for me to realize all the value, that selfishness, that I want to create a better life for myself, most importantly, then I then create better lives for so many people around me. And I'm not trying to preach up here. I'm just keeping it real for everyone, you know.
No, I mean, like, we have a lot of people. Like, let's be real here. Everybody everybody wants to look after their own, but at the same time, if you position yourself properly, you can look after your own and his and his and his and hers and hers and hers and hers.
Yeah.
Right? And that, of course, comes along with what you're talking about in building something that's valuable, keeping your eyes on the prize, realizing when nobody gives a shit and nobody will give a shit, and then diverting, ducking and dodging. Speaking of building, man, like what? I know you're up to something.
I am.
What do you got going on? Like, what can you kind of talk about what you have going on?
So I am a big believer that it doesn't take that much money to create financial freedom for someone. And so I'm working on a project to help people identify money-making opportunities in the blockchain space. Now, it's not specifically to do with EOS, but I'm trying, and you know, I've done this before with Steam Smarter on the Steam blockchain, trying to identify for that tags that were getting paid a lot on average. And so that's what the community wanted. Maybe you could write about, you know, basket weaving, gardening, and horses. Well, if you looked at Steam Smarter and you saw horses was what was making the most money, blogs on horses, well, you could go start writing on horses. It's just money-making opportunities, trying to identify markets that a lot of people aren't aware of currently and bringing those forward to people's perspective so we can all make some money.
I love it.
More details in a couple of weeks. We're building out the MVP right now, trying to get it branded, working with a great team. I won't say who it is yet because we want to release some partnerships and stuff and stir up some buzz, but yeah, it's going to be good. Expect us.
Like we're both like pretty involved in the EOS space. Being kind of like honestly, probably one of the more, if not the most well-known proxy out there due to a lot of the work and some of the blockchain evangelism that you've done. We both love EOS. I love EOS. You, of course, have worked with Steam.
Yep.
Would you say that you are an EOS maximalist or would you say chain agnostic? What's kind of your view on that?
You know, I've been called so many maximalists because I've been so passionate about various projects over the years. You know, Steam, Dash, Ethereum, EOS, and I don't really subscribe to religion. I appreciate EOS as the current best implementation of blockchain technology, as far as I can tell, in both the social aspect, you know, the voting, the technical aspect, delegated proof of stake, the entrepreneurial aspect, how resources are divided and allocated. But I definitely don't think that EOS mainnet is the only chain that I'm going to hold tokens in. It's not the only chain I hold tokens in. How I see it is this: we had Bitcoin, right? We had Bitcoin, and then we had like Doge and Peercoin and Feathercoin and Ethereum and some of that stuff. And people were out here trying to figure out which consensus mechanism and which technology was going to support digital community and digital economy. And so we were playing with different variations of proof of work for so long. And then proof of stake and then delegated proof of stake back in BitShares. And just like every market does, it starts to better identify the tech that's most suitable to serve the purpose. And if the purpose is supporting a community and supporting a digital economy, well, we're starting to key in on which technologies that is. And you see some of the biggest blockchains now, or some of the most promising, are Ethereum moving to proof of stake. Cardano ripped off Dan Larimer's delegated proof of stake. Tron ripped off plagiarized the white paper and ripped off Dan Larimer's delegated proof of stake. Steam was good, but it was run by, you know, some people up at the top who didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And now EOS. And now we see within EOS, we're starting to niche down even more, because I think EOS, I think this infrastructure may be the best on the market. So we're seeing, you know, different versions of it coming out, be it Warbly or Telos or Force or whatever, Meet One. And we're continuing to experiment, but we're experimenting on, you know, deeper down the rabbit hole. So I am a maximalist of technology, and I'm just very fortunate that my current life has given me the perspective, my trajectory has given me the perspective of what I call like the three powerful E's. Engineering, that logical perspective. Economics, the ability to identify value. And entrepreneurship, the ability to execute and build once value is identified. So I wear all three of those hats, and wherever those conclusions lead me is where I'm going.
So the way to think about it, I think I used to be a maximalist in the sense, but I actually, it would have been an interview with Brock Pierce in Dallas that kind of like opened my eyes when I was like, hey, this guy really kind of makes sense. So he's talking to Dallas about like, look, like I am pro technology. Like I'm pro blockchain.
No.
You want to try to, it was a really good interview. I thought it was.
Yeah, I need to listen to it. I was really proud of Dallas. Good job, Dallas.
Yeah.
Getting Brock on there.
He killed
Great job.
He killed it. But it was just, and I know there's like some whatever. People can think whatever the hell they want about Brock Pierce. The guy has done some amazing things for technology.
He's an
intelligent
boss.
guy.
Yeah, he's a fucking boss.
He is, man, and I respect him. So it is what it is. But look, man, we're coming up on an hour here, and I know you kind of had like a hard deadline for an hour. So first of all, I wanted to say, Ash, I got a ton of respect for you, man. I really think that you're and honestly, you're a good dude with a good heart, and you'll talk to anybody, and you'll spread the word of what you're doing. And I don't know, the EOS community is pretty strong, but there's still not a lot of people who kind of fit that mold. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to write, go check out asheoro.com, ASHE-ORO.com, Vote Freedom Proxy. And I'm going to list kind of like all your other links here on the chat once we're done, man.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to. It's a pleasure, man. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. Is there anything else you kind of wanted to say before I let you go off and do your thing? Because I know you probably got a lot going on.
Just follow EOS Radio and Freedom Proxy on Twitter. It's not about me. It's not about me. I carry the message of building freedom. And I'm just so blessed to have that perspective and have some sort of platform and microphone to do it from. And luckily have the reputation, so I'm on earth. I've dedicated my life to the concept of building freedom. I want to learn how you're building freedom. I want to learn what's in your way from building freedom. And I'm an open book. So reach out to me, find me on Twitter, and let's hang out.
Yeah. And I'll certify that Ash isn't not just talking smack. The guy's a real guy. And if you reach out to him, he will talk to you.
No doubt.
He will. Thanks, Ash, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it as always.
Tribe community, I appreciate it. Y'all take care.
We'll see you soon, buddy. Take care.
Yes, sir.